Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hope everyone's doing well and had a great weekend. A lot to kind of unpack over the weekend regarding some geopolitical events that we had. We'll talk about this here in a second and how that's going to affect the markets. We did have a pretty big gap down on futures. But we ended up rallying to fill that gap that we did have that ended up opening up on the weekend. Right now, currently, the overall indices just around its previous day low, so we're not down too much. We'll talk about some of the red folder news events since there is a bunch. We had Tesla robotaxi event, which didn't really impact the market as much. We weren't expecting it to, but it's still inside of its range. So we'll talk about that here as well. Before we go over onto the charts, good morning, everyone. What's up? What's up? Good morning, B Roots. Good morning, KO, Juan, Jeff, Chenna, Martin, Josh, Yoji, Wayne, JT, Ryan, Darth. Good morning, Steven, Monty, Cuba, Ashley, Katrina. Good morning, Paul, Carlos, Wallace, Robert, Walking. Oops, my mic's fallen. Good morning. What's up, everyone? Chris, Gear, Laura, Infinite, Joseph, Shade, Rick, Ray, Kuta, Eric, Elmer, Alejandro, Andreas, RR. Yeah, what's up, everyone? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's go over onto the weekly outlook. So first things first, let's take a look at some of the key economic events that we do have coming into this week. First things first, we do have some red folder news events today. This is going to be the flash PMI at 9:45. Tuesday, we have Fed Chair Powell speaking along with consumer confidence. This is going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As for Wednesday, Fed Chair Powell speaking once again. This is going to be at 10 a.m. Thursday, we do have unemployment along with GDP. And then Friday, what we do have here is core PCE. So we have core PCE, and then we have revised consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. So decent amount of red and orange folder news coming into this week. The main thing was the geopolitical news event that we had over the weekend. It doesn't seem it affected the market as much as I thought it would. We did have a pretty big gap down, but instantly bought right back up. So let's go back onto the daily chart. Let's actually go onto this, and we'll get started here. So thesis for this coming week. Right now, you can see that the overall markets are pulling back after CPI. Overall, still very bullish on the higher time frames. What I like to see is the market structure still stay intact. I like to see higher lows be formed on the daily time frame. So I marked this out a few days earlier before all the kind of geopolitical tension, but kind of the similar thesis still applies here for the ES. Right now, we're right at the key level it has to defend. So this 5979 here on the daily time frame is a key level that we'd like to see the market defend if we want to potentially kind of push back towards the upside. So far with the news event in the overall markets, generally speaking, whenever we have news like this in the markets and we don't drop, this is a sign that it is somewhat bullish, or right, the market does not want to head lower. So the key level for the market, as I mentioned, is going to be this 5975. We'll talk about kind of more levels here in a second, but just strictly based off the daily chart, if you can have a weak candle closure, that is the potential kind of shift in structure and momentum here on the daily time frame for the overall market. So far, the market is still intact, as I mentioned, because we are building higher lows, right? We're still building these higher lows on the daily time frame, and this is exactly where the buyers so far have to step in. So let's go into the lower time frames. Let's turn back on everything here as well. Turn back on the drawings and turn back on the electronic trading hours. So far for the ES, as you can see, the range that we have is still technically the box that we have drawn out from its previous couple of weeks here as well, which is the top of the range being our 60,100, along with the bottom of the range being our 5980. So you can see multiple touches, multiple reactions around the top and the bottom of the box. We tried breaking out here on Friday. was not able to. You can see in the overnight session, once again, we opened in the middle. Sorry, we opened underneath, rallied right off the bat, and then we kind of pushed right back towards the upside. So for the markets, if we do want to see downside, has to have a daily candle closure underneath your 5980. If we want some more upside, we're going to have daily candle close above the top of the range, which is going to be your 6100. Besides that, we're just going to be looking for bounces, rejections off your key levels, at least for the major indices, and we can expect more mean reversion. So this is the equilibrium here, which is your 60-60 here on the hourly chart. If we go back onto the now 15-minute time frame, what we're going to have marked out today is going to be number one, our 59.90, along with our previous day lows. We can mark out our previous day highs, and these are just going to be the areas we're going to keep an eye out on, right? The ES and NQ. What's more important than actually technicals in itself right now currently is going to be those news events, right? Geopolitical tensions. That's going to be a lot more important. That's what's going to actually drive the markets. You can see a lot of these moves happen because of the news in itself, right? This ended up driving down last Thursday towards the downside. By the time market opened, we're already back up in towards your previous day close. And then we had a a lot of volatility actually here on Friday after the holiday. And then you can see another gap down here in the overall markets because of the news that we had over the weekend. So I expect the overall markets to, right, we're just going to mark out our key levels, look for intraday price action. Really what's going to move the market, as I mentioned, is going to be the news in itself. So we're going to either one, right, be patient and look for, right, lower time frame setups, and just look for kind of miniature scalps in the markets until we have, right, a clear direction in the markets with the news, or we have the higher time frames are clear as well. So that's what we have for ES. If we go into the SPY chart, levels that we have marked out here as well is number one, if you kind of just zoom out here, is going to be our 604, right? We can draw this box here for the SPY, 604 along with this 594. If the SPY can break underneath your 594 and hold, potentially we can see a little bit more downside here on the markets down in towards our 590. So coming into today, key levels I'm going to have now marked out. I'm going to mark out this 590 as well. We can draw this over. Let's go back onto the 15-minute chart. So coming into today here for the SPY, what I would like to see is the reaction that we have off of your previous day lows. That's going to be key. You can see we have multiple touches around this general area. If you can get underneath their previous day lows now, 594 and hold, we can potentially see a little bit more continuation down in towards your pre-market lows here and below. If we do want to see some more upside, it's going to have to maintain above your previous day lows, reclaim back above your 594 for this push higher. More likely, we're probably going to end up dropping before we rally higher. I mean, I am still bullish on the higher time frames. The key levels we're going to keep an eye out today is going to be this 594 here on the SPY. So those are the key levels. Let me actually go into the other key levels. For the ES, sorry, I think I went over the ES first and then the NQ. But basically the exact same thesis applies for both these major indices, right? The ES and the NQ, fairly similar, just a little bit different levels. Same thesis still applies. For the NQ in this case, the key levels that I have marked out for on the 1 hour time frame is this 21,700, along with the top of the range being your 22,100. So these are the levels I have for the NQ. If we want to break towards upside, right, daily candle close above your 22,100. If you want to see some more downside, break underneath this 21,700. So for the NQ, this one's a little bit more bullish than the ES. What we have coming into market open, we have a couple key levels. We have the low of the range. We also have equilibrium along with their previous day high. So coming into today, what I'd like to see is really the reaction that we have off of your 21,700. We also have other key levels here as well, which is going to be your previous day lows, 21,800. What we like to see is the reaction that we have off this general area. Let's go into the QQQ really quick. I think it's going to have a little bit of a more clear picture here. But for the QQQ key levels, number one, 526, 529, along with this 533. Other levels we can have marked out is just going to be this low here and we can drag this one over 522. So for the QQQ coming into today, you can see just a lot of consolidation, right? A lot of consolidation around this general area for the past really few weeks here. If we can break underneath your previous day lows and hold, we can see a little bit more continuation back down in towards your pre-market lows. So for the Qs, if you can break underneath your 526 and hold, this is a potential area where we could go look for low risk for a continued pushback towards the downside. Underneath your 526 here on the QQQ. If markets do want to rally right after this big push lower that we had on Friday, if we do want to look for a potential rally or mean reversion here on a Monday, it's going to have to reclaim back above your 526 hold and push back up and towards your pre-market high in this 529.50. So for the major indices coming to today, we're just going to keep an eye out on your previous day lows on both the SPY and the Qs, since we are very close on the SPY. If we look at the ES and NQ, you can see kind of the rally. A lot of the information can be shown here on the ES and the NQ. You're not going to get this information here just by looking at the SPY and Qs because it opens at 4 a.m. Whereas the ES and NQ, they open up on Sunday at 6 p.m. So there's a little bit more information that you can see. So that's what we have for the major indices. Let's go on to some of the tech names that we have coming into today. Let's go on to Tesla. Alrighty. Tesla is consolidating before the robotaxi event as expected. This is happening on the 22nd. What I like to see is a reaction that we have off the 333 along with the 314 key level on this name moving forward. So we had the robotaxi. That was kind of the rollout that we had on the 22nd, which was yesterday. We weren't expecting a huge move on Tesla because it was just a soft launch. It wasn't kind of like a crazy launch that they normally have. It was a soft launch and they're just going to slowly implement it and roll it out. As for Tesla, we're actually only up 1.9% here in the pre-market after consolidating for the better part of the past week or so. So for Tesla, what I have drawn out is really this wedge pattern. You can see both sides are building up liquidity and it's getting tighter and tighter. So coming into today here, I do expect a potential bigger mover either today or tomorrow since the range is getting tighter. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a pretty big move today on Tesla just because we had the robotaxi event over the weekend. So key levels for me coming into today, as you can see, if the range is getting tighter, number one, what I have drawn on at least over the weekend, 322. I have the top of the range being your 333 along with this 314. So with Tesla coming into today, if we do want to see some more upside, the previous day highs, as you can see, is all the way back at your 333. So a little bit farther away for your previous day highs. As for your previous day lows, it's going to be this 317. So we're going to have marked out previous day highs along with their previous day lows. We're also going to mark out now, it's going to be your pre-market highs as well. And we're just going to be looking for the reactions around these general areas. So for the Tesla chart coming into today with liquidity being built up on both sides, upside, I'd personally like to see it above your pre-market highs and hold, which is going to be this 328. Really, that's the only scenario. Potentially, you could also see kind of the bounce off your 322 for a pushback towards the upside. As for potential rejection plays, I'm not too interested unless it could reject off your pre-market highs, or if it got underneath your 322, then I would be a little bit more interested towards the downside. Besides that, Tesla so far just consolidating here, forming this wedge pattern. So until we have a clear break on the higher time frames, I'm just going to be a little bit more selective on this name. So preferably if we can get a huge bullish candle on the 1 hour time frame, then we can be looking for a continuation back towards the upside. We don't really want to try and anticipate any sort of breaks on the lower time frames just because it's a little bit harder. Plus, right, we have multiple touches and it could very much well reject. So key level for me, I'm just going to set an alert here on Tesla 322.30s above your previous day highs. We can have this level marked out. Let's go on to the NVIDIA. So NVIDIA on the higher time frames, this is one of the most bullish charts here compared to the overall markets. Right now, you can see that NVIDIA is one of the strongest names. This one's holding up while the market is pulling back. So far every dip has been bought up on this name. What I like to see is the hold of the higher low on the daily chart. Nvidia has to get above 146 and hold if we want to see continuation higher. So for Nvidia, if we look at this on the daily time frame, you can see semiconductors have been fairly bullish and we've been continuing higher. Every dip so far has been getting bought up. Now you can see for the daily chart, if we do want to continue higher, it's going to have to break back above your 146. So let's go back onto lower time frames here on the 1 hour time frame. As you can see for Nvidia, we had a couple of reactions off of your 146 coming into last week. Here on Friday as well, was not able to get above your 146. You see momentum kind of slowed down here as well after rejecting off this key pivot point. So for Nvidia, key levels of support that I have coming into this week now is going to be your 142 along with this 140. So I'd like to see this 142 level hold. If you want to see any sort of continue push back towards the upside. So let's go back onto Nvidia. Key levels that I have drawn out is your 142. If we can maintain above your 142, I'd like to see a push back up and towards your 143.50. Another scenario right off the bat, reclaim of your 143.50. We can see this potential push back up and towards your 144.50 and above. If the markets do want to stay heavy and Nvidia does want to potentially continue towards your 140, it's going to have to consolidate, stay heavy underneath their previous day lows, break underneath your 142, and that can be the area where you look for a continuation back down in towards your 141 and potentially below being your 140. We'll see how Nvidia develops coming into market open. As for Apple, first kind of bullish day here while the market was dropping on Friday, kind of finding a bottom here. It was also Friday as well with quad witching. 200 was a key strike price, so we did expect some sort of move around 200. In this case for Apple, we're now just gravitating back up and towards a key psychological level. So this is really the area that we broke down from, our 200 key psych level. Now, if you do want to see some more upside, break, hold above your 200 key psych for this continue push back up and towards your 205. So as you can see here for Apple coming into today, one of the stronger tickers just based off of Friday's price action. If we do want to see potential continuation based off of Friday's price action, what I would like to see, break above your 201, hold for this continued push back up and towards. Now it's going to be, we can mark up brand new levels, but the next level is going to be back up and towards our 204. So above your 201 and hold, potentially we can see 204 here on Apple. As for Microsoft and the rest of these names, these ones are still very much bullish. Microsoft, every dip has been bought up. This one's close to all-time highs here as well. Not too much to talk about. As for Meta, the key levels that we have on Meta is going to be this 680. So let's go back onto this daily chart. Thesis for this coming week, Meta pulling back on Friday. Right now you can see that Meta is around the 680 key level. That is a level that we like to see hold for continuation back towards the upside. Next level under 680 will be 660 on the higher time frames. So key level for Meta, as you can see right here, is going to be your 680. This is the level that we bounced from a few times now. You can see on Friday here as well, it's gravitating down in towards your 680. This is the exact level you like to see hold if we want to see any sort of push back up in towards your 690s. If we end up breaking underneath your 680s, there is a potential that we could see more continuation lower, which will be underneath your 680s. We can potentially see your 670s and your 660s here on the higher time frame. So that's what we have for Meta coming into today. As for Google, this one's relatively weak compared to the overall market. We did have some news on Google last week, so that's why we ended up dropping on Wednesday along with Friday. This one had the most relative weakness, so that's why you can see pulling back here a little bit on the daily time frame, coming back into the area where we ended up breaking out from. So let's go back onto the 1 hour chart here for Google. For looking at this, kind of zooming out, we're now gravitating back down in towards this higher low and this base that we had back from June. So for Google, key levels is going to be now your 168. 168 is key point of interest. If we maintain underneath your 168, we can see this continue push back down in towards your 166. If you can reclaim, we're just going to see a little bit of a mean reversion on Google. As for Amazon, on the 1 hour time frame. This one now holding above our 209. So for Amazon, the key levels that we have marked out is our 218. We have equilibrium marked out 214, and then the bottom of the range being this 209. So what I'd like to see coming into today, reaction that we have off of your 209. If you can maintain above your 209, we can see this push back up and towards your 212. If we get consolidate here, get underneath your 209, you could be looking for the lower high underneath your previous day lows for a continuation down in towards, now it's going to be this 207 here. So for Amazon, just mark out this 209 previous day lows. AMD, one of my favorite charts still. So the semiconductors, let's just have a quick overview of what the semiconductors are doing. SMH, key level for SMH was this 264. So on Friday, what I wanted to see was the potential kind of flat top break that we do have here on SMH. If you can break above this 264, we can see continuation up in towards your 269. This one kind of rejected off of your 264 flat top along with the overall indices. So that's why some of the semiconductors ended up pushing lower here. Now for SMH, what I do want to see is really the reclaim back above your 260s. That's going to be key for me. What we're going to have marked out, multiple touches here. What I would like to see, reclaim back above your 260 for any sort of continued push higher here on the semiconductors. If we do reject your 260s, previous day lows here is in play. So that being said, we can clearly see AMD holding up while NVIDIA kind of pulling back here, at least if we're looking at its previous week's price action. AMD, key levels that we have marked out, 128 along with your 130.50. So for AMD, nice continued push right off our key levels on Friday for this continued push towards the upside. Now you can see the markets are bouncing off our 128 once again. What I'd like to see is one of two things on AMD. Hold of your 128, you could be looking for the low risk for this continued push back towards the upside, or scenario number 2, which is going to be my favorite, the reclaim back above your 130.50, higher low for this continued push back up and towards your potential previous day highs and above. So this is your Tuesday's highs. What I like to see is the reclaim above your 130.50 here on AMD. Other levels we can actually have marked out. We can mark out one more level in this case, which is your high that we created on Wednesday, which is also the area that we ended up rejecting from, and another kind of key pivot level. So this is the level we can have marked out. We can actually just refine this a little bit better. Key levels, I'm going to mark out your Wednesday's highs. So another scenario that we could be looking for is the base above your 129. So there's a few levels here, right? Either you're looking for the higher low off your 129 for this push up and towards your 130, break above 130 right off the bat, or if AMD was really weak, it would be all the way back down in towards your previous day close, 128. As for Netflix, this one's just consolidating higher time frames, still looks very much intact. We can expect this one to continue back towards upside. Okay, so coming into this morning, we're going to keep an eye out on the SPY and Qs. As for my top watches, we'll keep an eye out on Tesla just because it had news over the weekend. I have my alert set, your 332 here, previous day highs. As for AMD, we can also set out alerts here as well. My alert in this case is going to be your Tuesday's highs, 130.70. So we can mark this out. If you guys do have any charts now, you guys can drop them in the chat and I will go over some names here. 130.70 is going to be our pivot point for potential continuation higher. So AMD, we'll keep an eye on Tesla. NVIDIA kind of lagging behind. We'll look for the reclaim back above your 143.60s. And then we'll keep an eye out on Apple. If we can break back above now, it's going to be your pre-market highs and a retest of your previous day highs. So that's what we have for some of the tech names coming into this morning. Now, if you guys do have any other names, we can go over them now as well. All right. What's up, everyone? Good morning. If you guys do have any charts or tickers, you guys can drop in the chat. I'll go over them. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate it if you guys drop me a like and sub. Let's kind of scroll up here. Good morning. Good morning. What about GTA stocks? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by GTA stocks. Good morning. Let me go over Circle. Do you trade live on your WAP? That is correct. Good morning. When trading options, what is the average size of your position? It's really dependent on the risk amount and the ticker that I'm playing. Generally speaking, I have around a $10,000 position size. I'm risking 10% on average, give or take. 10 to 20% depending on the ticker that I'm trading, but really it's around $10,000 over a long period of time. As for Circle, this one's just continuing higher. So Circle, we expected this one. Nice hold of our key levels here on Friday. This one diverging from the overall market just because it has relative strength and very bullish so far. Key levels 116, nice retest later into the session. Other levels we can have marked out now here as well is going to be your pre-market high from Friday, and we can also mark out your previous day highs if we like as well, which is going to be this 274. So for Circle, the best area is really going to be this pullback down in towards your 236 here on Circle. And then we can also keep an eye out on your previous day highs, hold of your 248 for this continued push back up in towards your pre-market highs here being that 268. So that's what we have for Circle. You can see now this is going to be day number 3 after having this base and breakout. Basically day number 3 mover. I'll be cautious. Day number 3 usually has some sort of pullback coming into market open after that initial pop. So key levels 248 along with this 236. We can go over coin here quickly as well. Just because coin is directly related to Circle. In this case, this is like a sympathy play for coin. Key levels that I do have marked out is your this is your Wednesday's highs. So your Wednesday's highs of last week, now we can mark out our previous day highs along with our previous day lows. I like to see on coin base above your 300, push higher, or now it's going to be the break above your 310 for continuation back towards the upside here as well. So that's what we can have marked out, previous day highs along with their previous day lows. So for coin, your risk levels 290. We can also mark out equilibrium here as well. I personally like to see any sort of dip as long as it maintains above your 298 for a continuation higher. Let me kind of scroll up here. Palantir. Why don't you use volume when I'm trading? I don't have volume on this chart. We have volume pulled up. It's just a confluence. It's not my major thing. I have it pulled up on some other layouts as well. I personally will use volume on the higher time frames, at least intraday. I'll maybe glance at volume every once in a while, but it's not the major confluence that I personally use. As for Palantir, key levels that we have is going to be this 140, right? 140, multiple touches. Friday, this is Wednesday, Friday. Well, we would like to see reclaim back above your 140, continuation back towards the upside. So that's what we have for Palantir. And then we also have other key levels being your 145 and above. So what I like to see reclaim above your 140. Currently, we are building up liquidity, kind of both sides here. I like to see break above, hold, continuation higher. If we reject, break underneath your previous day lows, then we could potentially see your 135. As for HIMS, we had some news here in the pre-market. So HIMS, as you can see, nice base and break above your 62. Now we actually had some news here in the pre-market. So HIMS dropping. It seems like it's dropping after the Novo Nordisk terminates partnerships. So that's clearly, as you can see, dropping here, affecting HIMS down about 23% in the pre-market. You can see it's dropping. So technicals was shaping up nicely. You kind of had insider selling. You also had this pretty big wick here on June the 3rd, but now breaking underneath key levels with this news event underneath your 51. So key levels for HIMS, what you have marked out is your 51. That's what you want to have drawn out. 51 here is going to be your key point of interest. Now you like to see it maintain underneath your 51 if you do want to see more continuation lower. So that's going to be the key level coming into today is your 51. You can see kind of a couple touches here. Now as long as it maintains underneath this key level coming to market open, you can expect more continuation towards the downside. As for IWM, this one, key levels, let me actually just remove a few things here on IWM. Key levels I have set for IWM coming into today is going to be number one, 209. We have your 206 marked out here as well, along with your 212. So for IWM, maintain underneath your 209. We can see a continue push down in towards your 206 here. If we can reclaim back above your 209, we can see a little bit of a mean reversion. As for Hood, this one's still very strong. We talked about Hood for a while now, but any sort of pullback so far, just getting bought up on this name, it's almost at all-time high. So that's my major target I've been talking about for a while, 85 all-time highs. If we go back onto the 1 hour chart, we're kind of gravitating back up and towards your high that we created back from earlier into the month, June the 6th. This is your very much key level here on Hood. So now you can see we're having a little bit of consolidation around this general area. If you do want to see some more upside, get back above, hold above your 70, sorry, it's not your 76, your 77 for this push up in towards your 80 key psych level, which is the news event that we had on the 6th. If we end up rejecting, right, getting back underneath, we're just going to consolidate in between, right, this high and the low that we created from the 6 here. So key levels, what I would like to see higher lows be built above your 78 here on Hood. CRWV. Yeah, so CRWV, similar thing. This one, every single dip gone bought up as well. Higher lows being built. Key level that I marked out here on Wednesday along with Friday was just this 166. As long as we maintain above that, we can expect continuation higher. And then we also had another level being marked out, which was our 176. So you can see once we got above it here on Friday, nice hold, retest, and we end up having continuation higher. So key level 176. We can also mark out our previous day highs here as well, which is going to be our 186. So for CRWV, continuation, really higher lows, break above, and push back up and towards your pre-market highs here and above. As for ARM, this one, very strong semiconductor. Key levels that we had for ARM was our 143. Nice reaction that we had on Wednesday. And then on Friday, we're just coming right back down in towards our 143. So this is the exact level we like to see hold if we want to see continuation back higher. Now, most likely just going to consolidate a little bit more after Friday's price action, and then eventually potentially can gravitate back up and towards our 149 if we can break it back towards the upside. Okay, Circle went over that one, HIMS as well. Let me kind of scroll down here. Good morning, what's up everyone? Good morning. I noticed, let's see, I noticed you've been using the 1 hour more than the 15-minute chart. I usually go over the 1 hour. I flip back and forth in between these ones. If the 1 hour chart is in range, it's a good indication that the 15 minutes is going to be in range. So if you look at this on the 1 hour time frame, you don't really see too much here, right? It's just consolidation. So in this case, if I do want to look for opportunities, I'm going to have to be on the 15 minutes. So the 1 minute's not that useful on the Qs because we're just ranging. So if I'm looking at the QQQ, I'm just going to have to go into the 15-minute and mark out key levels. If I go into something that's actually trending, let's say AMD, we have like CRWV, right? This is good to use the 1 hour chart because we're clearly trending. The levels are fairly clear. So this is a good indication of how strong the trend is. So you can flip back and forth in between the 1 hour and 15-minute because they are fairly similar and they're really only one, max 2 time frames away. All right, so AMD is actually breaking higher here in the pre-market. The market is also flipping green here. So quite a bit of volatility coming into the market open. I'm not sure if we had red folder news at 8:30. I don't think so, but just kind of an injection of volatility into the markets. But as for, let me actually check. So yeah, no red folder news at 8:30. It's just kind of volatile. Injection of volatility. It does seem like AMD is continuing higher. So AMD, we'll keep an eye on AMD. My alert went off for the break above your 130.50. So you can see this one clearly showing some strength in the pre-market compared to every other ticker. You can see Tesla starting to move up here as well, but this is going to be the lead semiconductor. So we'll keep an eye out on AMD. Above now, it's going to be the hold, break, hold above your 130.50. You're awesome. Appreciate it. Does RSI help with confluence whenever you go long and short? Not intraday. I know a lot of people use RSI, just oversold, overbought, kind of similar to the fear and greed index. They work best if you're on the higher time frames, if you're on the daily chart. If you're on the lower time frames, there's too much noise. You're not going to be using the RSI on, let's say, the 1 minute time frame. It's not going to make too much sense. Do you have any video going over how you trade on Thinkorswim Interactive Brokers? I don't think so on my YouTube channel. I have a very brief one, but we do have other videos regarding TWS. If you search up on YouTube, some guy I always mentioned, Verolo Trading, he has all the videos you need on Interactive Brokers. Went over most of these ones. Let's see. Hims, Palantir went over that. Circle, it's usually the same ones. Someone mentioned Hut. Not too much to talk about on this one. It is, I'm pretty sure, a Bitcoin miner. Key levels, if you go on to the 1 hour time frame, I really wanted to see this level hold, which was your 1750 for potential continuation. Now you can see broke back underneath your 1750, using this as a retest, and now we're continuing back towards the downside. So for Hut, key levels that we do have marked out is now your 1607. Do you have any videos, Hut? Are you looking for opening trades today or wait for 9:45 red news? Recently, I've just been waiting just because overall market hasn't been showing too much opportunity right off the bat, just because the markets are ranging. So there's usually, if you're going to be aggressive right off the bat, you want to be looking for something that has clear hard time frames. If you're looking at the SPY and the Qs, they're ranging. So we don't really expect too much to happen within the first 15. Really, this is going to be your next major level, back up in towards your all-time highs. So key levels 4 dash. Now you're just going to have marked out this key pivot high. You can see breaking above, we're basing. Next logical levels is really going to be your all-time highs, 256 here on DoorDash. So key levels, your 216. We can now also mark out here as well. It's going to be your previous week's highs. That's going to be your key point of interest, along with your high that we created all the way back from 220. So these are the levels we have marked out on Dash. As for Marvel, rejecting a little bit off your daily gap here. You can see multiple touches on Wednesday and then rejection here on Friday. So now we're coming right back down. But for Marvel, nice try and hold above your 75. Ultimately was not able to. Now the key levels we're going to have marked out previous day lows. If you maintain underneath your previous day lows, you can see a mean reversion back down in towards your 71. You can reclaim. You can see push back up in towards your 75.80. So mark out your previous day lows here on Marvel. We love a video on your trading view setup. Yeah, I think I'll make like a very basic beginner guides on brokers and trading view as well. I think that would be good, since I've made like a very brief video, but I haven't made like an in-depth trading view guide. If that's something you guys would like to see, I will make that. It's fairly basic, my setup. It's just a couple lines on the chart, just my colors, but I can show you guys some other tips and tricks as well. As for snow, this one, pretty big daily gap, as you can see. That's really the next major level on this one. Your 226, you can mark out at the bottom of the daily gap, 194. So that's going to be the key levels for snow. If I go back onto the 1 hour chart, just a lot of consolidation after earnings. Now just kind of basing. You had this kind of wedge pattern forming, which was nice. Now what you like to see is really just kind of the hold of your 208. So key levels we can have marked out, 208, drag this over, and now we can also mark out this high here as well. So kind of rejected off our 214, which was your high. Now we're pulling back here on snow. IDM CAT, UXXV, okay. Let me go over my game plan and then we will call it a day. So yeah, coming into today, so far you can see the markets just defending your previous day lows on both the SPY and the Qs. If you look at the NQ, similar thing, kind of just defending your previous day lows now, and the market is bouncing. So fairly big moves here in the pre-market, so that by the time we still have about an hour, we'll see how the market does open. After these big moves in the pre-market, generally speaking, the New York session is going to be fairly quiet. And that's really been the theme for the past month or so, is that we've had a lot of moves in the overnight session, a lot of moves later into the day just based off of news. And that's what's kind of moving the market instead of actually like intraday movements, right? 9:30 a.m. EST. So we're gonna just wait for the first kind of 15 to 30 minutes to play out. We also do have red folder news at 9:45, flash PMI. So we're gonna wait 15 minutes regardless just for that. So that's what we're gonna do here on the major indices. As for the tech names, I do like Tesla. We can also now mark out it's going to be your pre-market high. We'll keep an eye out on this 327 after Robotaxi plus a lot of consolidation for the past few weeks. Let's see if potentially we can start breaking up towards the upside here on Tesla. So we'll keep an eye on Tesla coming into today, along with AMD, since this one is showing a lot of strength here in the pre-market. What I would like to see now is, right, the hold of your 130.50 base for this push back up and towards your previous day highs here and above. So AMD, Tesla, my main two top watches coming into today. As for everything else, I do like Apple here as well. If we can break above your previous day highs and hold for this continuation higher. Those are some of my main watches coming into today. I do like Palantir as well. If you can get above your 140, that's something I'm interested in. As for all the other tickers, you just want to be looking for the key levels that we ended up marking out. So that is going to be it for me today. I'm going to get ready for market open here now. As always, if you guys did enjoy that, I appreciate it. If you guys drop me a like and sub. If you guys want to join the free watch list going over the pre-market game plan, that is in the description below. All right, that's going to be it for me. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. All right, take care, everyone.